even be loving them biracially babies the same way. Like I said, when you biracial babies, they be the black sheep of the white family, and they be the goddamn the white hope for the black family. They be loving them goddamn babies the way they supposed to. Like, come on with that shit, man. All this fake ass love shit. Like, that's just some bullshit.
Quick, when that girl, I think Juanita, whatever her name was,
wanted to talk. Yeah,
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say to what he said as far as supporting each other. When in terms of the brain and the mind, in terms of talking about nurture versus nature, that's something that was taught to us. That goes all the way back to the dark skin versus the light skin. That was something like to look at your brother or your sister and to hate them. That was something that was taught to us. So for him to like kind of say that, we all know that's something that was taught to us. And to this day, we still deal with those issues in terms of light versus dark. And I just want to make a point 1 second while I say that. Talking about like those things that we have been taught as far as, you know what I'm saying, when it comes from the house slave to the outside slave. So it's just like, that's all I had to say.
Can I 30 seconds, right? Just to respond to. Listen, I got you. You can chime right in. Queen. He said, why would you breed with a race? No, this budget, Maya.
Yeah, so we can kind of keep track of who wants to say stuff.
Yeah, this is Sam. I want to speak to you.
All right, bet. Listen, as you said, right? Why would you interbreed with a race, right? Knowing that white people cannot sustain the fucking sunlight, meaning that they are not natural to this goddamn solar system, why would you want to introduce that genetic makeup to your child? Why would you want to what?
Because I'm in love.
That's a tangent.
Hey, Abian. Never mind, pass me. I got nothing to do with sunlight. I have nothing to say regarding here. I just wanted to speak.
You can say whatever.
All right. Yeah. I just wanted to, add my 2 cents in regards to systematic racism. I'm Canadian. I work with an airline company. I'm fortunate enough to still be working, but I have seen thousands of people being laid off. I work in a department where I guess it's essential, and my department has not been laid off. I work in the headquarters, you guys. Headquarters. Do you know how many black people work with me? Do you know how many black women work with me? You know how many people were laid off? Okay, let me just get to it. I'm unionized, so I can't just be laid off all willy-nilly, thankfully. But I've seen upper management lay off black people prior to laying off individuals who make more money than black people. Managements are not unionized. For individuals who know or don't know, if you are in a department, or if you're in a management role, you are not unionized. I work for an airline company in Canada, and I've seen managers who are people of color being laid off prior to white people who make double their income. If you are trying to stabilize an airline company with what is going on in COVID-19, your first take is to save money. Why do you guys think they're laying off people of color before saving money, before keeping afloat the company? Like, I'm telling you guys, I wasn't as vocal or passionate in being pro-black until 2020, until COVID-19, until seeing these things, until I realized that my department only has 2 fucking black women, myself and another girl.
That's to go into. We were talking about that nail shit earlier, Scammy. I'm sorry I keep bringing it up, but I was talking about how them Asian people won't even hire a black woman in their
But y'all letting me y'all name. That's what this inclusive shit. That's what I'm talking about. Black people want to be so inclusive, and we want to be so progress. We the only motherfuckers that's fucking progressive.
We're the only
we the only ones that do that shit. We want to be welcoming everybody into our spaces. No one else practices that shit in their culture, especially not when it comes to the marriage or who you fucking. You damn sure they damn sure ain't about to do that shit.
I don't know
everybody out here who want to step in the name. Everybody out here who want to step in the name of love, y'all on some bullshit. These people don't marry for
I don't
love.
know about the whole dating things, but I'm telling y'all, if you guys want to be pro-black, please assist people of color, black women, black men to come in the Fortune 500 companies. Don't be a bitch and be like, you know, just because they're a bit ratchet or just because their vocabulary isn't at par with the white fucking girl that's sitting next to you, y'all allow black people to come into these companies. I'm telling y'all, there's only 2 fucking black women in the whole headquarters. 2, myself and another girl. I'm out. Be pro-black when it comes to the corporate world.
Thank you. Hold on, Mike. Hold on. I'm about to reset the room. Listen, I want to welcome everyone here to the Center Stage Podcast. I'm Scammy host. I'm Scammy Sosa. Today we in here, we talking about you can't be pro-black and date white men or women. If you at the bottom and you want to come up, please raise your hand. We'll bring you up on stage. Do me a favor, make sure you're following all the moderators. If you want to stay in contact with us, you can go to the top and click the greenhouse at the top and follow the Center Stage Podcast. You also can click on my name, Scammy Sosa, and on my Instagram page, Center Stage Podcast. We have an Instagram page. Also, if you click on my name, make sure you click that notification bell on my name so every time I start a room, you can be notified to come in the room. Anyone that wanted to speak next, go ahead.
This is a good question for you guys, right?
Hold on, one at a time, though.
Hold on. Whenever you guys set up the queue, can you add Joelle to the queue whenever you set the lineup up?
Yeah, I was going to say Kiara, and then Amaria could go, and then Mac wanted to speak after Mac, Jazz, after Jazz, Joelle.
Great evening, y'all. So I'm Kier. I came in on the part when y'all was actually talking about the Rogam shot earlier, and I just wanted to have more clarification on how that got started, because me, myself, personally, as a woman of color, I am A negative, if I'm not mistaken, and I actually have to get the Rogam shot after every pregnancy that I have to protect. So I wanted to know how that because it sounded to me as though that the conversation was saying that if you are negative, then you're not black. I guess a little bit more clarification on it.
No, it wasn't that if you are negative, you're not black. It was that they said that if you
basically this what comes with dealing with them.
Right. Yeah, if you reproduce.
I'm listening, Liv.
Basically, if you reproduce with a white person, I think it's possible that maybe from the lineage, because like I mentioned earlier, at this point, everybody is mixed DNA at this point, so it could be from like maybe a long time ago somewhere in your family line. That's how you got the negative. But like, I'm negative too. And, I have to get it every pregnancy too. And I don't have kids with white people. It's just, I don't know, but.
Listen, Queen, do you know why they are giving you that shot? And not to create like a
when you have a child, when you give birth for a little bit of time, that child is going to be exposed to your blood. And if you have a negative blood and the child has a positive blood, your body will attack it. You was correct on that.
Basically, that's what I was told as well, and that it was to protect myself as well too because of my blood count. So the only reason that they are prescribing y'all that shot is if you potentially, basically, expecting you to have interracial dating, so that if you just so happen to slip up with a Caucasian person, then that baby can be produced. Yeah. Naturally, you sitting here telling me that our ancestors was taking shots in order to produce our baby?
No, that's what I said. I said that I don't think that at this point, I don't think that it's about, you went off and had sex with a white person, so now you got to get that shot because you had sex with a white person. At this point, it could just be that now we have the negative DNA, the negative blood, missing the Reese's protein or whatever. We could have that because of the mixed racial shit down the line. I'm just saying this is probably, I don't know, Kiera, I don't know if you're a full, like you're black and white. I mean, I don't know if your parents are both black. I don't know what it is, but maybe somewhere way down the line, there's some European that, got into the blood and then boom, now we negative. So I know
there was an article on Reddit that said that the placenta, your placenta would be more valuable. That the placenta from a mixed a mixed child actually potentially has like the genome, the code in it is more expensive because it potentially harbors like more secrets, right?
Keep your placentas, ladies.
No, that's because
listen.
I just want to mix with black people. I was getting ready to
Nah,
say,
if you don't,
Let's just look at the science. But whether it's dumb or whether it's evil, I'm not here to promote that relevance. But the only thing I can say is that, like she said, keep your placenta because it's value. In some cultures, they eat the placenta. Eating the placenta is extremely healthy. There's nothing taboo. There's nothing bad about it. A woman has the right to eat her placenta to consume it. There are enzymes and proteins
even
in
if
it
you
that are
don't
extremely
want to eat
beneficial.
it, if you don't want to do shit with that placenta, keep it so that your DNA is not out here going in some
Listen, y'all, the placenta is
makeup.
supposed to be connected. Listen, the placenta is supposed to stay connected to the baby until it dries up and falls.
Exactly.
A loaded
Get all this nutrients.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all.
So
we
white people
gotta
don't
get out
have
these
nutrients.
artificial ways, y'all.
But that's what I'm
But
saying.
I'm saying,
Even
even if you don't want to eat it, even if you don't want to keep the baby till it dries off, do not let them have your placenta. You'll see how they're gonna look at you when you say you want to keep it.
Well, they're not going to mention it to you if you don't say nothing, unless you. And I'm not saying this to be smart. Like most women, even the fathers, they have no idea that number one, it has value, or number two, that they have the right to say, placenta, it is mine. Legally, it's mine. It is my, it's my property because it's technically my body, and I don't want you to have it. I want you to put it in a container, and I'm going to freeze it, or I'm going to do whatever I can. But they make millions of dollars a year off of placentas, and placentas from mixed-race children are more expensive. I'm telling you, there was a whole article about it. A doctor who wrote it, they pulled it off from Reddit.
No, that's bad.
When I check my placenta,
is it natural and isn't it?
Hold on,
the problem is that they are unnatural. They're not natural. That's the reason why you got all these goddamn
when I had my daughter, I was 19 years old. That's the reason why you got all these goddamn complications of birth and all, because they are unnatural. They are unnatural, and they only doing this shit. They only doing this shit because they had a minus birth rate. You know what that means? We can predict the day, the time, and the hour that they will be extinct. That's why they doing all this inclusive shit. Trying to be nice and shit, trying to save their goddamn race in general. You look at a white person, you look at a white person, hold up, you look at a white person, they motherfucking hair laying down because they motherfucking body dead. You look at a black person, that shit's sticking up because we got all this motherfucking electricity in us. We are God. Remember that. I want to say the last thing I want to say about that placental shit is that when I had my daughter, I was 19. When I told them I wanted to keep my placenta, they literally looked at me like they was disgusted with me, like it was shameful, like I was so weird, because they knew what the fuck, they knew I knew something, and they couldn't believe it because I was so young. But even if you don't want to eat it, even if you don't want to keep the baby connected, do not just let your DNA be out here in this world being used for some shit you don't know what's going on with it.
Yeah, you got to remember the placenta has the building blocks for the genetic code. Like, I just want you to understand what the placenta is. The placenta was actually the foundation for what cloning is. To it. I'm not disagreeing with you. Remember back in the early 2000s, we were cloning cows and kids, and so the placenta, the genetics, that's the building blocks of it. Like you literally all the enzymes, all the proteins, all the RNA. Like, it's easier to break down that code. And then those are those still have stem cells in them. And we know that in biology, that stem cells and nanotechnology in order to make stronger, better, more powerful humans. Like, if you put a stem cell on it, you can train that stem cell to do and be. That's what stem cells do. You start out as a single cell organism, and then you multiply exponentially. But if you have those actual initial cells, you can teach those cells to do whatever you want. So you could potentially have a human have the ability to heal faster. So the reason why it's more valuable in a mixed child is because we know that the melanin that is in the DNA from those who are, who are melanated, that genetic code.
So why would you want to mix with a white person? Why?
Hold on, yeah.
Because on a cellular level, it's better. because it's already mixed. That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
Let's go back. Yeah, we went on a tangent. Let's go back on topic.
Did Amaria?
I have something to say.
No, I didn't get a chance to speak.
And I didn't get a chance to speak either.
And I think
Amaria
was
supposed to go first, and then Joelle. If Joelle has nothing to say, Joelle.
Before we go, can we just all give a moment of silence? Cicely Tyson just passed away as we speak.
I just saw that.
Who passed away?
Cicely Tyson.
Oh no!
Oh wow!
I just saw that.
Rest in peace, Queen.
Can we just give a moment of silence?
Rest in peace, Queen.
All right, fellas.
All right, back on topic. Who's next?
Joelle.
Peace, Queen. Go ahead, Joelle.
Hi. I think it was actually Amaria before me, so Amaria after you.
All right, perfect. Thanks. So, I had a question actually. So I was in a room I think it was yesterday, and it was basically the same conversation, but someone brought up a point that their opinions. So they were trying to say like, an interracial, like a mixed child. Can a mixed child be pro-Black? That's basically what they were saying, because they were like, okay, well, they're half Black, so is that possible? Is that, a thing? Because, is it possible? And that was
yes, it is.
It depends on the phenotype.
Yes,
it depends on the phenotype. It definitely depends on the phenotype and how they raised.
Yeah,
I would not consider Logic pro-Black, but J. Cole, I definitely would consider pro-Black.
Yeah,
I'm not going to allow.
But then look at The Bachelor. Look at the new Bachelor, this Black guy. His dad left him, supposedly. That's what they say. His mom is white and his dad is Black. But if you look at his phenotype, he never met his mom. He looked Black. But when you hear him talk, you see him interacting with these women. Like,
so
he's coming. He's exactly. But when you see him on the street, you would never know that
you can be Black person. And not
his
be
phenotype
pro-Black,
is Black.
Period. You could be Black and not be. I kind of want to speak to that. I know, the whole phenotype thing, but I still do feel like, you can be pro-Black, because this is the thing. We also have to think about, who they're raised around. Like me personally, I'm a lighter skinned biracial woman. Haven't really had too many issues, with society as far as racism too much. I've had a couple of incidents, but okay, get to the point. So my father is a brown skinned man. My grandpa is a dark skinned man. And even though I haven't gone through the things that, they may have gone through, some of the things maybe my sister has gone through, she's a darker skinned, woman, doesn't mean that I don't understand it, because, I see their experiences. So with the whole phenotype thing, I get it. But at the same time, though, I feel like they still can be pro-Black, even if they don't necessarily look like a Black person, just because of who they're raised around. But I don't think he mentioned Logic just about how he looks though. I don't really see Logic doing the shit. And he compared him to J. Cole. I don't see Logic doing no shit that J. Cole.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
That's one person.
No, but that's a prime example of it. Logic Logic can be. I didn't know he was mixed until he said that. But prime example, I'm trying to say this without getting cut off. A prime example is the fact that Logic is mixed, but he does not look Black, and so you don't really see him as kind of pushing for Black things like you would somebody like J. Cole, who is and looks Black, and his hair is like ours. And I didn't even know J. Cole wasn't straight Black until I listened to his song. So he said it in the song before. That's when I found out. But before that, I would have just thought that he was a light skinned Black man, which is what he is to me. But if somebody were to ask me, Logic could go around saying that he's Black all he wants to. But am I going to call Logic Black? Hell no, I'm not. And also, to answer your question, Amaria, that's what I would feel like. You could be pro-Black and be mixed, but it all depends on your phenotype. Because, like I was saying, with Liv, for example, she's mixed, but she says she only dates Black men and has babies with Black men type stuff. I wouldn't go push for somebody who is quote unquote mixed but look like a white person to go and only date Black men or have babies with Black men if they want to be considered pro-Black. I'm gonna just no, that's weird to me.
And I also want to say, because Scammy said, it also depends who you were raised by and stuff. J. Cole was raised by his white mom too. So that's definitely something, it's really not even about it's not even always necessarily about that. It could go either way. The man on The Bachelor.
Well, that black rod that was in it must have took over that.
I was about to say,
I think it's about also critical race theory all this. That also makes it big.
I'm just
what you say, Steve?
I'm sorry.
So I'm a critical theorist, and I study this critical race theory type shit, and I'm studying we gotta think about how race works. So race works on a visual level. So Nicole Fleetwood talks about this. She talks about the visuality of race and sort of the visual nature. So the way that race works is that you can denote race by simply its contrast of white, because race was created in this modern setting of modernity that also created classism and homophobia and all this other shit, right? So when we think about being pro-black, the crazy part about being pro-black is that you can't judge it on this sort of visual level, because there's no logic behind the reaction to seeing something visual, right? You got to judge pro-blackness based on one's actual actions and based on their metaphysics of how they move, how they interact in spaces. And what that means is that that looks like doing whatever you can. Means leveling your privilege wherever you have the chance to, in all occasions and all places.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go, because the thing that I wanted to talk about in the queue is exactly kind of what we're speaking on. And number one, just to respond to C, I think I get what you're saying, and not negating anything that you're saying, but the reality of it is that some of these conversations are held within a vacuum, in a very academic vacuum, and that kind of sounds like the perspective that you're speaking from. That is that's just very different than the definition of pro-black that colloquially a lot of people are operating within. So within the definition that we're talking about and how it relates to dating, I wanted to speak to actually clarify a statement that was made to my initial statement. I think her name was it wasn't Jalissa, Juliana. I think she's not a business speaker anymore. I think she's in the audience, but she had stated, I think it's really unfair that me choosing to marry a white man and have kids with a white man then calls my blackness into question. And I wanted to really clarify that, because when we're having this conversation about being pro-black, that is very different than questioning your blackness as a person, right? Because being pro-black is a conscious decision in terms of the actions that you're putting forth to further your community and further the betterment of specifically the Black community and the diaspora. And if you're choosing to date outside of your community, I'm speaking for myself, because I know other people in here may have a very different opinion, but speaking for me, because that's who she was responding to, I'm not questioning your blackness. Any Black person who chooses to, right, that's why I preface, any Black person who chooses to date outside of their race, I'm not automatically saying now you're not a Black person. But I am questioning if you are promoting yourself as a pro-Black Black person, whether you are actually genuine in that idea of you being pro-Black. And then even just prior to me speaking, bringing up, Logic and J. Cole, I'm not on board at all with the argument about the phenotype that determines whether you can be pro-Black. I think the biggest difference between them, bringing it full circle back to the conversation, is that J. Cole married somebody who is brown facing and identifies as brown on the DNA person, chose to marry a beautiful, nice, petite, little blonde white woman. So that is the difference, in my opinion, on their level of Blackness, or whether they can identify as pro-Black in terms of the actions that come out of them being biracial. I don't think that anyone biracial is not able to be pro-Black, because like C is saying, it really boils down to your life and your lifestyle and the actions that you're choosing to do to promote and to progress our community. I think those are choosing.
Hold on. And before you respond to that, hold on. What does marrying or dating a white person, what do you benefit from that? That's never
let me finish. So I think that those are two very different examples, but coming full circle back to the conversation, that's exactly what we're talking about, right? If you're going to be pro-Black, can you date interracially? And I don't think that in the nature of what we've come to decide what pro-Blackness is. And I think that Maya, again, and Lucifer really summed it up in its totality of what pro-Blackness actually looks like in action and the purpose of it. I don't think that you can truly say that you are pro-Black if you're choosing to engage in interracial relationships. Right. And one of the things that the young lady had spoke about is, again, that really horrible narrative, like, why is it my fault that, you know, I couldn't find a Black man? And it's just like, the reality of it is, like, did you actually look for one? Because a lot of the times in interracial relationships, the narrative that, like, the romance, the love story, I just happened to find a white man that I fell in love with. Exactly. Congratulations. I'm glad that you found someone that you fell in love with. But if you're saying that you're pro-Black, it's not just about who walks into your life. Are you actively seeking Black relationships and Black love? Because if you didn't actually seek that, then you can't be mad. Hold on. I know, but I can't hear you.
You can respond. Let her finish. Let her finish. You responded as a person. You can go after she responds to her. Chill out. Relax.
So when you say, like, you know, it feels like sometimes it's an automatic defense that comes from Black people who are engaging in interracial relationships. Because questioning your Blackness, we're questioning whether you're actually Black. That means you are going out of your way to seek opportunities to make sure that your community is furthering, and part of your community has to circulate around the idea that the unified Black family is powerful. And if you don't fundamentally believe then a lot of the things that you're talking about in terms of Blackness are really moot points if you're not starting at a very solid Black nucleus. I never said that I didn't say that you didn't say that. Juliana, I didn't say that you didn't say that. But I'm just responding to you coming on me kind of hard. Hold on, you gotta let her. I'm coming on you. I'm not coming on you. I'm just trying to finish my statement, and then I can respond. I can allow for you to respond to me to have that conversation. So I'm not coming directly at you. I'm just responding because what you had said was a response to me, and I'm clarifying that I wasn't attacking you as a Black. I'm not judging you as a Black person. But when we're having conversations about what it means to be pro-Black, the definition that I have about being is that you said you couldn't find a Black man. You didn't find a Black man to marry. And in my mind, and then, you know, in your response, please correct me if I'm wrong, right? In my mind, if you didn't find a Black man to marry, I guess it's a question for you. Were you seeking to find a Black man in your life?
I definitely went out of my way to find a Black man to be in a relationship with. As I said when I spoke earlier, all my previous relationships were always with Black men. So what I wanted to kind of just bring to the conversation, and a lot of people in the room don't hear where I'm coming from or don't agree with where I'm coming from, is that you put a huge burden on Black women to say if you can't find a Black man to marry, you're no longer pro-Black. And I do feel that I am pro-Black, and I am furthering the Black community in many ways. If your definition of being pro-Black is also including only marrying someone Black to further the Black community, I can understand that. And based on that definition, I don't fully what you're saying, and I'm okay with that. But I just want to let you know you're limiting Black empowerment when you kind of push people aside, because you don't know where. Not live in a big city, you might be in a situation ethnicity as them. So that's what I'm saying is that but if that's your definition of pro-Black, then that's you. That's fine. And I guess you don't meet that.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. I think that what Brianna said is very valid, right? And one of the things that I don't agree with, and that's not how I'm trying to come off, is that if you don't meet my criteria of what pro-Black is, right? I don't think that diminishes or should wipe out all of the other great things that you're doing for the community, right? If you're doing the community service, you're in here doing the work, you're in here doing mentorships, you're financially pouring back into your community. Those are still essential things, a part of being pro-Black. On the flip side of it, you can't just marry a Black person and not do shit for your community and
pro-black, right?
Yeah.
That it works both ways. Like you can't just be in here in toxic ass black ass relationships and you ain't doing shit for nobody else. Like you are not pro-black in that sense either. So I don't my criteria is not to diminish or limit if you don't fit that definition, right? I mean, I get what you're saying, like you don't agree with it, and that's cool. Like I don't think that what I don't want for you to take away just from our interaction is the fact that you are not in a marriage with a black person, and now that wipes out all of the great things that you're doing for our community. I commend you for that. I just think from my does involve you choosing black in every aspect of your life. And you know, and you don't meet my personal definition because that's my personal definition. But I just don't want for anyone listening, and especially you, to take away the idea that I feel like you're not doing aren't great and wonderful things that are essential for our. Go ahead.
Earlier, I was just gonna say it goes with both Joelle and Juliana. When she said that you dated a black man, then you found kind, and then you allowed it to go further. Being pro-black, like everyone has been saying, is a conscious action. I don't even allow myself to find out if a white person is kind or nice to me. I don't give a fuck what type of person you are. I don't even allow it. I've had white men show interest in me, and I tell the it's reserved for black men.
Talk that shit, Queen.
I don't allow that. I don't allow myself to even get friendly with them. I want my man black so black you can't even see him. I want my babies black so black you can't even see them. That's what I want, and a white person is not going to give me that. So for you to say, oh, he was kind, how you knew that? If you was actively looking for a black man and that's what you wanted, you wouldn't even allow that white person to get next to you, and that's period. And that goes to exactly what Joelle was saying, and that's all I wanted to say.
I want to say I agree.
I'm just saying we do live in a world where we interact with. I was actively
live, then see that Juliana, you can go.
So I want to say I agree with the. I know I want to be with a black man. I know I want a black family, and I know I want my children to be black. So with that being said, I'm not going to date a white person. I'm not going to even give them the opportunity for me to find out what they about. I'm not even going to let it get that far because I know that I want to be, it's just like with breastfeeding. If you know you don't want, under any circumstances, you do not want your baby drinking Similac, it don't matter if your nipples bleed, it don't matter if you're thinking, it don't matter what the fuck is going on, you're going to push through all that because you know under no circumstances will you allow your baby to have that formula. It's the same thing with this situation. If I know I'm pro-black, I agree. And I got to be with a black man, I want a black family because that is the root, like Lucifer said earlier, that's the nucleus of the black community is the black family. I don't even know what the fuck these white people talking about.
I don't even like light-skinned niggas. That's how serious I take this shit. I don't even like light-skinned niggas. I like my niggas black as fuck. Black as fuck. That's what I want.
Women. I don't like light-skinned women.
Yeah, Scammy don't play.
Or whatever.
Good evening. Can I please speak for a second, guys?
Go ahead.
My name is Milwaukee, and I wanted to say, first and foremost, we shouldn't identify ourselves as a color out of a crayon box. We have to understand what's our nationality and our heritage, what we were before slavery, and we were Hebrew Israelites. And before slavery, we never ever mixed with the other nations. We never mixed with the heathens. We always made sure that our sons and daughters was given to our own people. And now people want to get, have, interracial relationships because of the things that we went through in slavery. It's because sisters and brothers are brainwashed to think that they, are at a high status if they date a so-called white man or a so-called white woman. So that all comes from not really loving themselves and the trauma that our people have been going through since we got over here.
That's cap.
I mean, if you're going to say something, people, you could just give your statement.
I think it's just BS to say, I'm with a white person because I hate myself. It's just like the situation could just end up like
this is the person I have feelings for now, and I'm not letting race play a factor in that shit.
Hey, Lano, can I talk to you,
Like,
brother?
are you black?
Hold up.
Asian.
Hold up. Okay, Lano. Listen, I love that, right? But listen, you gotta understand, bro. These people don't give a fuck about us. You know that they had to make a fucking a law for these fucking white women to stop killing our black babies. Did you know that? That's why I hate when y'all niggas y'all going lay down with these motherfuckers. You know the true history of this shit, bro. And then listen, brother. Above it all, you or your family, because that's what they for. Is that gonna get you in an Ivy League school? Is that gonna help your fucking kids go and get a fucking bank loan if they want to start a business or something without the white man made it with being there? Is that going to help or benefit you anyway? How does that benefit you at all, other than saying it's for love? That's a problem with the black community. We need to get out of this fucking individual mindset that they fucking portray on our fucking community and ruin us all. Get back to this communal standpoint that we've been on from the beginning of fucking time.
And Lana, just to give you like context, like one of the things that one of the speakers had talked about, because I understand your question and like the point that you're making, right? But the consensus here is that pro-blackness is not something that is just benefiting you. It's just benefiting your family. It's something that's benefiting the whole community. It's about benefiting the whole community. Nice. What I hear Scammy asking is, how are you benefiting the community by going out and marrying a white person to date and marry? And when you have a white person in your household, because I think the argument could be made, right? Where if I go and marry a white man, I'm going to get all of these benefits because of the social proximity I have to whiteness and the things that he can bring into my household a lot easier than a black man could. You're not just specifically talking about how is it me and my kids. You're talking about how is this going to further the culture as a whole. And I think a big part of furthering the culture as a whole in terms of being pro-black and then choosing partners to marry and procreate with that are pro-black, number one, creates a narrative that we are white people. It unifies us to then build generational wealth that we're passing directly down to black people to then further use in the community generations after. We're teaching our people to how to healthily deal with each other, how to heal each other, how to speak to each other in a way that is functioning that we don't currently do because we are so divided. There's a lot of things that we have to heal within ourselves that has to be within a black household first. And I think that for me is exactly why marrying someone black is one of the most pro-black things that you can do. And when you choose, because it's a choice, and that's the thing, like people keep bringing it up like control to marry this white person. Like this white person just found love. No, you made yourself available. And I think we're taking account, you gotta take accountability when we're taking accountability for it. You're making a choice
for a black man as well.
I feel like people we're making a choice, right? To either choose to be with someone that is black or choose to be with someone who isn't black. And I think when we're talking, when I hear Scammy talking and asking, you know, what are the benefits of marrying a white person? It's more so like, how is that going to benefit our community as a whole if you're stating that you are pro-black, and pro-black meaning that you're not just pro-you and you're not just pro-your family, but you're pro the culture. And I find it hard to understand how interracial relationships promote and progress our culture.